Hello out there. I wanted to take an opportunity to talk to empaths, especially during this coronavirus era. Actually, I would like to talk to those who are close to empaths as well. And I guess first and foremost, empaths are people who are typically more sensitive than others to other people's feelings or to the environment. So I first want to say to those who are close to empaths, please don't take it personal, because sometimes we may appear apathetic or not engaged and even not tolerant, low tolerance, where the reality is we're very engaged and probably too empathic, to the sense that we know we have to set boundaries in order to maintain our levels of emotional health. So that's very important for you to understand, that when we set boundaries that may seem abrupt to you, we're doing it for the sake of our emotional health and stability, if I be honest about that. So a lot of times we're very sensitive, like to what is going on, for example, with coronavirus news. Myself, I tend to turn it off so that I can minimize as much as possible the information that is going to be painful for me. It sounds selfish, but it's something that I have to do in order to cope the way that I need to cope. Sometimes it may seem like we're intolerant of people. That's because we're sensitive to people's energies. So whereas you may be able to tolerate being around someone, your empathic loved one may not, because it just may be too overbearing. Even scents. We're very sensitive to scents. So you may think a scent smells lovely, and it may be overwhelming for us. So it's very important to just be sensitive to our sensitivity and understanding that, even though it's very different to who you are. Now I want to speak to empaths specifically. So first and foremost, I want you to know that you are normal in who you are, and to honor yourself, because it's not that you are inaccurate, you are just sensitive. And it is a difference, because what we pick up on is real. A lot of times we pick up on negative energy or conflict that people have even within themselves that perhaps makes us irritable if we're around them. That does not mean that it's not real because no one else sees it or feels it. It just means that you are sensitive to it. You have a hyper antenna, is how I call it. Secondly, it's very important to protect your space. So you don't have to let everyone in your home. You don't have to spend time with everyone. So protect your space, and not only that, but protect your time. If you know that there are certain triggers, maybe certain times of the day, or when you have a lot to do, that you're going to be extra sensitive, you want to schedule your time accordingly, especially if you're dealing with people who you know may be triggers for you. Schedule that interaction, if it is mandatory interaction, according to when you will have the appropriate energy to deal with those people. You also want to give yourself permission to exit. And this is important because a lot of times we get into social situations, whether it's a dinner party or, it may be a meeting that is not work mandatory or what have you. But if it's a situation where you know the energy is negative for you, extremely negative, and I will say the return on investment of staying is not worth it, give yourself permission to exit. Just because it's supposed to last from 6 to 8 and you're at 7 o'clock and you're miserable, you have permission to exit. You own yourself. Similarly, block out daily time. Block out daily time to recuperate when you're not going to have any intrusions. That will allow you to rebuild yourself, to basically purify from energies that may have been heavy for you, and allow you to purify, recuperate, and get regenerated for the next day. And lastly, meditation is so important, and it's similar in the vein of blocking out daily time, but it's not just about, okay, I'm by myself, but it's also about being intentional and releasing and receiving energy, clearing out your space. You can be by yourself, but you could sit there brooding and worrying about different things. But with meditation, you are making the effort, and the only effort you're making is to let go. Sure, God may pour into you during that meditation, and that is obviously beautiful and the most important aspect of meditation. But in order for you to fully receive what God is pouring into you, you have to let go of your predisposition of what happened negatively during the day or what you're stuck on that happened last night. Let go, give that space, empty your storage so that you can fully receive what God has to say to you. I hope this is helpful, and it just gives some tips on how to cope during this crazy time. But not only that, give you as empaths permission to be yourself, and hopefully those who are not empaths a little bit compassion for us, because we can't watch every movie you watch if it's about people dying, or the news every day that may be too depressing for us. It may not impact you, but that doesn't mean it doesn't impact those around you. So your patience and compassion is appreciated, I will say, on behalf of empaths worldwide. But I hope you got something out of this video, and if so, please share with someone who is an empath or someone who lives or is close to an empath.